Everyone, this is Travis again, giving you another tutorial. This one's going to be on, I call this video Apply JavaScript because a lot of times you'll see videos and they'll give you, tutorials, including mine or whoever, doesn't matter who it is. And, it's all nice in theory, you might read about it and be like, okay, that's great, but how do I actually apply it in an actual site, right? So that's what this is going to be, applying a JavaScript in an actual site. Now this is obviously a fictitious site and it doesn't even look that good. But anyways, the site is sort of like this. Now, obviously it doesn't look that good. I just threw something together. I mean, I'm not doing it for cosmetics. This is to illustrate how JavaScript can be manipulated through this site to do what I want to do. But let's say you have a site. As you can tell, I just threw any picture in there. Anyway, so it's like an estimator, right? So you're running a home heating service, and you want to be able to ask information from the user, right? You want to get their county. If it's an emergency, like, hey, I need heat now, whatever, frigid outside. The heating method, is it propane, heating oil, kerosene, how many gallons is desired, right? And you want to go ahead and hit estimate total, and you want to be able to display to the user, how much it's going to be. So that way when they call the heating man, oil heating man, they'll know, hey, this is how much it's going to cost. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly how this would work in JavaScript. Again, this is not for cosmetics. Obviously, I would do this site a whole lot better. I just threw something together, just so I could demonstrate how you would apply JavaScript on a website. Okay, so anyways, so let me go to my code here, and I just want to share a little bit about my code before we get started. Here's my field, and these are the things I'm going to be interacting with. I'm going to be interacting with the counties here. Here's my emergency, and notice the values and the IDs, the heating methods, as well as how many gallons. So these are the things I'm going to be interacting with. So let me go all the way down. And the first thing I want to do is I want to open up a script tag. Now I have this this function here. Don't worry about it. What this function does, it allows me to set multiple styles to an element. So it's really not relevant, I guess, to what I'm about to show you. It's just something there so I don't have to keep repeating myself for whenever I set styles to an element. And it'll come in handy a little bit later. This function is really not important right now. It's not really relevant to what I'm trying to show you, so don't even worry about it. In fact, I'm just going to collapse it. But anyways, you're going to start your own function. And we're going to call this, I don't know, it's like get estimate, right? Pretty good name. We're trying to get the estimate from the user. I'm passing what's called an event. You can name it whatever you want, but event seems to be a pretty good name. And then we're going to go ahead and do some things in here. Now the first thing I want to do is I'm going to call this event.preventDefault. And I'm going to show you exactly what happens if I don't do this. Now it's not going to work because I haven't called the function, but I wanted to show you something. Well, I don't have to save it, doesn't matter. So if I were to, let's say I had everything working, right? And I were to click estimate total, it reloads the page. Well, I don't want it to reload the page. I want it to display the total. I don't care about reloading the page. So what prevent default does is it prevents the reloading of this page, and that way I'm able to run my own type of JavaScript that I want to run. And let me go ahead and fix this real quick. Alright, here we go. Okay, so that's what that does right there. Okay, so let me go to, we're going to add an event listener. We're going to tell JavaScript to listen for something. We're going to call the document. We're going to say .addEventListener. We're going to pass in submit. Oh, there it is. And what we named our function, in this case it's getEstimate. It's a named function. Certainly I could have put this in an anonymous function. It certainly would be fine. And my use capture is going to be false. Okay. So now if I were to file save this, just that alone, you will notice that when I load this, estimate total, and it doesn't reload, and it's perfectly exactly what I want to do, which is not reloading, and I want to be able to display some a value in there. One thing I want you guys to note about something though, whenever you're extracting values, everything is a string, including this 30, or anything inside here. That's going to play a role later on. But I just want to let you know that everything is a string. We have to convert things to numbers where JavaScript can understand it, and then reapply it obviously with a string. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to show you some of the things that the customer gave me, right? Suppose this was a site, and he's like, hey, you know, these are our prices, right? So heating oil is $2.48 a gallon, propane, kerosene, at the corresponding values here. Hey, an emergency fee is $10. If we have to go out there, it would probably be more in real life, but you know, just kind of bear with me here. And here's the Ohio state tax. I'm not from Ohio, I just happen to pick on a state that's cold. But anyways, here are some counties in Ohio that this guy does service to, these 5 counties. And here are the corresponding tax rates for each of these counties. So we need to be able to incorporate this in our calculations. Okay, so first thing I would do is I would say const, and I'm going to put Ohio tax, right, equals, and again, we're going to what we have here, and it's 5.75%. So I'm going to say 1.0575. In case you're wondering why I put 1, well, obviously 1 times itself is 1. It prevents me later on doing the times 100 thing. You'll see that later on. And so I'm going to call something tax rate. And I'm going to set it equal to 1 as well. And this tax rate is going to be different because that's the county tax rate. So it's going to keep changing depending on what the county is. So the first thing I need to do is I need to be able to extract the county, right? Okay, so how would I do that? Well, let's go to our site. And if you notice here, we have our counties. Now, how would I know which one the user picks? For example, Mehling. How would I know he picked that? Well, we could do it like this. Inspect element. And we're going to get it by whatever ID I picked it. In my case, I named it C County. So I'm going to control C that. And I'm going to set a var. I'm going to call it county. Makes sense, right? Equals document.getElementById. And I'm going to pass in that string for C County, which is what the document.ID gets. And I'm going to say .value, right? So whatever the value is of that, it's going to retrieve to me the county. And just to show you guys how this works, and you know, in case if you're wondering, hey, how does that work? Let's go to our console, right? So if I were to type in this, for example, whoops. If I were to type in that, and I hit county, right? It retrieves Mehling just exactly as I want it. Okay? So now let me go to, so that's how you get the value, right? So now how would I assign all of these tax rates? As you can see, all these tax rates, depending on the county. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called a switch statement. Oh, and by the way, I'm using Sublime Text in case anybody's wondering. Sometimes when we do tutorials, people always ask, well, what kind of text editor are you using? Sublime Text. Anyway, so how would I get the county correspond with what tax it is? Well, I do is call a switch statement. So I'm going to say switch. Now you could do if, else if statements. That's fine too. It's up to you. Now inside the switch statement, I want to know the county because that's my condition, and whatever the county is. Okay, so in my case, I'm going to say my first case is going to be whatever the name of the counties are. I don't even know. I'm not from Ohio, folks. Columbiana would be my first one. It doesn't matter what order I put them in, but it helps that way. Oh, okay, it's already there for me. How nice. Okay, so Columbiana. Put a colon there, right? And let me go ahead and put this down so y'all can see this. I probably should space this, but that's fine. Okay, so Columbiana, and then I want to put the tax rate equal to, go to our guide here, see what it is. 7.25%, so it's going to be 1.0725. And then we're going to break. Also, the way formatting is, we want to go ahead and format that appropriately. Okay, so I'm just going to copy and paste this 4 more times for 4 more counties. Just bear with me, folks. Okay, so we have Columbiana. I think Stark was the next one. Stark. Let's see, we got Stark, Mahoning, Trumbull, and Portage. Okay. Mahoning, Trumbull. And I'm going to change the corresponding values here pretty soon. I just want to get all the names in there right now. And Portage. If you're from Ohio, drop a comment below and say, hey, I'm from Ohio, or even from these counties, you know, whatever. Okay, so we have Columbiana, which is obviously that for tax rate. Now, what is for Stark? Let me look it up. It's 6.5. So it's going to be 1.0650, right? For Mahoning, it is, I'm probably saying that wrong, 7%. 1.07. We'll call it 0, doesn't matter. And what's the other one? Mahoning, we got Portage is 7% as well. And what's the last one is 6.75. Trumbull. 6.75. Just make sure real quick. Everything. Yep. Okay. Good. Last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a default case. If nothing, if it's none of these, then we're going to default back to the 1 for the tax rate. So simply do default case. You do it like this, and then you say tax rate equals 1, and that's it. And that's how you do that. So now whatever the county is going to correspond to whatever that tax rate is, whatever comes up from the value of whatever the user selects. So that's how you do that. Also, I'm going to go ahead, just to kind of get ahead of the ball game here, I'm going to make sure I get that text box in here, so I don't have to keep doing that. Inspect element. Okay, this text box is called txt estimate because that's where everything's going to go, right? So Control C. I'm going to say document.getElementById. I'm going to pass in that the name of it. .value. And you know what we're going to probably do? I'm going to say equals tax rate, just to show you guys that this is working. Now, obviously, it's not the full calculation, but this just shows you that this is working. Okay, so if I were to reload this page, okay, and let's see, I want to select, let's go with Portage. If you guys remember, Portage is 7%, so it's going to be 1.075 should show up. Now if I were to hit estimate total, as you can see it says 1.07, exactly where I want it. Okay, outstanding. Now obviously we're going to be putting something else in there, and this is obviously the last thing we're going to be doing. Okay, so the next thing I want to do after getting the tax rates is I want to go ahead and set all the values of my heating prices. Since the price of oil is always constantly changing, and the person who owns this business will constantly have to change his prices depending on what the market is, I'm going to put these in variables instead of constantly hard coding it with the different values. So I'm going to say, oops. So I'm going to say var heating oil price. I know this is a little verbose, but I just want to show you guys this so nobody gets confused. And that's going to be 2.481. Plus that means I don't have to memorize this all the time too. We'll go with var propane price. And this is obviously per gallon. And propane is 2.342. And these numbers, by the way, are sort of made up. I say sort of because they're kind of historical numbers. Kerosene is 3.121. Our kerosene price equals, oh, geez, I forgot already. 3.121, that's right. 3.121. Alright, now I got that established. So I have everything here. I got my state tax, I got my county taxes, and I have that. And of course the emergency fee. So let me go ahead and do that. var emergency fee equals 10. Right? Okay. Actually, emergency fee is going to equal 0. I'll tell you why here whenever we get to that. Because I'm going to be doing some math with this to where if they pick yes or no, that's what's going to set the value of it. For right now, we're going to set it to 0. But just know if it's a yes, it's going to be 10. But I'll show you how to do that when we get to that point. Okay, so we have all of our variables pretty much declared as far as that's concerned. Let's see, what is the next thing we do? Let's go to our site. I'm just shooting from the hip, y'all. I don't have any notes or nothing, so kind of bear with me here. Let's go in order. So let's do the emergency fee, right? Okay, so to get radio button values, the best way I know how to do it is to get the name of the form, and then from that you use the name of whatever that part of the form or that input value is, and that would be considered a property. I'll show you what I mean. So if I go to, so let's say var well, actually let's do it like this. So I say document get element by ID. I don't know what the name of the form is, so I have to look it up. But if I go to, it's heating form. Okay. So I go heating. Ah, there it is. It's got it for me. Now I say dot h. It's like h method, I think. No. Let me go to emergency. What do I call this? Emergency. Okay. So a dot emergency. So whatever the name it is, that is the sort of the property of it. So I say dot emergency. Dot emergency. That's it. So that should give me whatever it is. So let me go ahead and show you exactly what this does. So if I go to copy and paste this, and if I were to go ahead and run this in the console, and I say, oops, Control V, as you can see, it returns an array of both of these, right? Now I got to figure out obviously which one it is that would be selected. And so for me, you could do it a couple different ways. You could sign a bunch of if statements to get what it is, which wouldn't be too bad since there's only two things. Or you can do a for loop, which is probably what I'm going to do. Now you really don't need to do a for loop, but if you could imagine if there was certain other conditions, sort of a good habit to get into. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We would do. So we're going to have to name this though. Var. Let's see. Emergency choice, I guess. It seems like a pretty good descriptive name for me. Okay, now remember, this returns array of yes or no, right? It returns the array of yes or no for those elements, of those given inputs. So I am going to use a for loop here. I'm going to say for I equals 0. I is less than emergency choice dot length, and of course I plus plus, and we're going to go and say now if emergency choice I, right? If emergency choice I, which I'll say it like this. Actually, let me call it, emergency choice, and I might have another variable called var this emergency. Okay, just like that. So if emergency I dot checked, if emergency I dot check equals true. If that's the case, then we want to perform the following condition or code here. So if emergency choice I dot check equals true, so it's going to loop through both of them. I'm going to determine which one the user picked. If that's the case, then I want to set this emergency equal to, or I should do like this actually. Well, yeah, it doesn't really matter. This emergency equals to emergency choice I. Okay. And now I want to do another for loop because let me go to. Okay, so we have that this will get our emergency choice, which is a good thing. Go ahead and X out of this real quick. So what's the next thing we want? Let's just go down the list here. Heating method, right? So you guys could probably guess we're going to be doing the exact same way. We're going to inspect the element. And go ahead and collapse this. And if you notice, everything has the H method, and we're going to get the name of the form again, right? And we're going to do it the exact same way. So I'm going to say var heating method, right? Whether it be propane, whatever it is, right? Equals document dot get element by ID heating form, just like so. This one's dot, I think it's H method. Yeah, H method, because that's the name of the name on that input, right? And again, this would just like it did for this one. This returns array of heating methods. Propane, oil, and kerosene. Right? Okay, so same thing. It's supposed to be a var. I don't know what I was doing there, but okay. So I'm gonna say var. I'm gonna say this energy. Sort of a nice descriptive name, right? And I'm gonna do the same thing. Try to get some space here so y'all can see. I'll go 4. I'm gonna say var j equals 0. J is less than. Remember, it's an array, right? So heating method dot length j plus plus, and I'm going to do the same thing, right? So I'm going to say, well, if emergency choice, or in my case it would be heating method rather, if heating method I, or j, excuse me, if heating method j dot checked, there it is, equals true, checking for a boolean, then I'm going to go ahead and perform this, which would be this energy equals heating method j. Simple enough. So it's checking what heating method the user picked. If it's true, whichever one it is, because it's looping through all of them, then it's going to assign that value to this energy. Fair enough. Okay. Moving on down the line. What else we need to do? Let's see. Let's go to... we need to get how many gallons. So, it's obviously very important. It's probably the most important one on here. Okay, so the name of that ID is gallons amount. Okay. Control C. So I'm going to say... I guess it doesn't matter where I put it, because JavaScript does hoisting anyway, but we'll say var gallons equals document.get element by ID, and the name of it is gallons amount dot value, and that'll give me whatever it is in there. Would give me the amount that it is. Okay. So as you can see, we have everything here that we need as far as all our values. Now we need to do our calculations, right? Now there's going to be something interesting that's going to occur. But I want to show you guys sort of the, I guess what you would logically think would work, and then I'm going to show you how to fix it. Okay, but anyways, so let's start naming some stuff here. For example, let's go var subtotal, right? should probably do camel casing. Subtotal. Now, how would we find the subtotal? Well, let's go to our form real quick. The subtotal would simply be what, the gallons, whatever they pick, plus a heating method, and whether or not they picked, an emergency run or not, right? And for taxes and whatnot. But so it would be before taxes, right? So let's go ahead and do all that. So basically, subtotal would equal gallons, right? So gallons times, in our case, it's going to be the whatever the price is, right? So whatever they pick here will determine whatever their price is. So I need to go ahead and do that. So that's one thing I forgot. So I need to go ahead and assign all these prices, because right now JavaScript doesn't know where to assign these at. So I need to go ahead and do that. So this energy, I'm going to reuse this energy, and I'm going to say, well, what is this energy? I mean, what is the value of it, right? So yeah, well, that's great that we have this, but how am I going to get a value and assign to it, right? And I need to do the same thing with this emergency. Okay, so I did forget something. So we're going to do if this emergency, right, which gives me the value of yes or no, right, equals yes. If it does, then emergency fee equals $10. Else, can't spell. Else, emergency fee equals 0. Right? Okay. Now I need to do the exact same thing with this heating method, right? And by the way, it really doesn't matter where you stick it. So if I say, instead of if though, I can do another switch statement, because there's quite a bit of heating methods. Or I can do if, else if you guys are comfortable with that. Since I showed you guys already how a switch works, let me show you guys how a bunch of if-else's work. Let's do it that way. It really doesn't matter. Okay, if this energy, right, equals whatever the energy is. In my case, it's I forget what I called it. I need to go up to my form, figure out what I called it. I think it's heating oil. What did I call it? Propane, heating oil, and kerosene. Okay. And it's all lowercase. Alright, good. Okay, so if this energy equals heating oil, right? Then I want to go ahead and set the price, right? Then that means that the well, I want to make sure that the price is set. So we'll say, which is up here, just this price right here. So we're going to make sure that we set for the price accordingly. So we'll say heating oil price, right? But I want to get a, I'm going to make another variable here. We'll call var price of energy. Do it like that. And we can initially set it to 0, that's fine. Price of energy. And Control X. Like I said, folks, I don't have any notes. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here. Alright, so I'll do that. Then, oops. Price of energy equals heating oil price, right? Else if, and you can see why I prefer sometimes a switch statement, but I want to show you guys both methods. Else if, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, else if this energy equals propane, and I did it all lowercase, then I'll say price of energy equals propane price. There it is. And lastly, else if price of energy equals, and I forgot to put the condition I want it to do, this energy equals yeah, that's how you spell it, kerosene, which I got to put in quotations. Then it's going to be the kerosene price. Simple enough, right? So that's why sometimes I prefer a switch statement, but this is how you would do if, else if, else if, else if type stuff. So how do we get the subtotal? Well, simple. We do the gallons, right? Whatever it is, which of course we get the gallons, the dot value of it, right? And we times that by the price of energy, right? So we're going to go ahead and, and also do that. And of course we're going to do the plus emergency fee, right, in case if there's an emergency. So we're going to go ahead and go file, save this, but there's going to be a problem, but I want to show you guys exactly what the problem is and why it's a problem and how we can fix it, okay? But first let's go ahead and show you exactly how all this works. And so, okay, so I'm going to select my county, whatever. I don't even think I did tax yet, so it really doesn't matter. Yeah, I didn't do tax yet, but anyways, let's say yes, it is an emergency, so it's going to be charging $10. I want heating oil, and let's do 30 gallons to make it simple. Estimate total, right? Oh, I forgot to set the value. My fault, folks. Subtotal. File, save. So, okay, then it doesn't really matter what I pick here because I didn't set it yet. It's an emergency. I need heating oil, and we're going to do 30 gallons, although I could do more, but for right now. Estimate total. You notice what I got here. I got a Z. Alright guys, before we continue on, I notice an error here. This has to be dot value. We're getting the value of whatever that emergency choice is. You know, if it's a yes or no. Otherwise it's going to return an object, which doesn't help anything. I don't want the object, I want the actual value. So, value. So we'll go ahead and do save, and that should not return a 0 anymore. Okay, so we have the subtotal here, and I was doing some checks here, so let me go ahead and delete all this. In fact, let me go ahead and save that on here. I'm going to console.log the subtotal, the price of the energy, emergency V gallons, type of energy. I want to make sure everything is working, right? I shouldn't need this value. Get rid of that. See if everything is working. And of course I want to get that subtotal. Right, file, save. Okay, so if I go type any information here, so let's say it's an emergency, so it should charge me $10. Heating oil, and it's 30 gallons, right? So if I estimate the total, I get 84.14999. Okay, now notice the console.log subtotal comes up. Price of energy is what it's supposed to be. Emergency fee shows up, and the gallons is 30. Now we need to format this because that does not look very user friendly. So let's go to our editor, and to format that, you would say .toFixed. And you would pass in how many decimal places do you want it to fix it to. In my case, I want it 2 decimal places. So I made file save, and that should fix that. Now, there might be an error because I'm converting it to a number, and you'll see why. JavaScript might get confused. But if it doesn't, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But so let me go to the emergency. Yeah, sure. It's heating oil. We're going to do the same one, so that way we know it's correct, right? 30 gallons, 84.43. It does fix that. Now, interesting enough, JavaScript is converting these strings to numbers, but sometimes you can't rely on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something that's called parse int. So we're going to go to where did I have my gallons at? Gallons right here, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to do parse int, okay? And what that does, it parses a string to see if it looks like a number. We pass a radix of 10, which means a base value. Don't have to really worry about that. And so if I hit file save and I were to run this, it should not have messed nothing up. So, and same difference, so we're going to go ahead and run. So yeah, heating oil, and go 30 gallons, shabam, 84.43. Alright, now interesting to note here, if I want to add a dollar sign, there's a couple different ways. I can do a .to locale string, pass in US-EN, or actually EN-US, pass in a object, currency, and then pass in US dollar. Or I could just simply just tack on a dollar on there, which is what I'll do. So once I get this subtotal, I want to go ahead and display that in a dollar, of course. So I would concatenate the dollar to the subtotal when it's fixed with the 2 decimal places. So that will take care of that right there. Okay, now we need to add some error checking to this, because obviously, well, first we need to do the taxes. That's probably what I need to do first. So before we do error checking, let me do taxes, right? So we have the subtotal, but I don't want the subtotal. I need the actual total, right? That's what the customer cares about. So let's go ahead and do the subtotal, or the total rather. Var total equals, and of course it's going to equal the subtotal, right? And of course I need to times that by the tax rate. So subtotal times, and in my case we're going to do the Ohio tax, right? Ohio tax. We're going to enclose all this in parentheses. And we're going to go ahead and times this by the tax rate, depending on, if it's Columbiana or Stark or whatever it is. And so the subtotal, we're going to say total. Right? Okay. Hit file save. And reload this. Alright, now I need to select the county. Now you notice there's nothing forcing me to select the county. We're going to fix that here in a second. Heating oil. And we're going to get some 55 gallons. As you can see, it does calculate everything. And if I were to type this, 209, 065, whatever the case is, right? And just to go ahead and estimate total, let's go ahead and we can solve this on a calculator just to make sure that everything is in fact correct. You always want to check, right? Okay, so let's open up a calculator. So we have 30 gallons, right? We want to check all our math to make sure it's correct. 30 gallons, we picked heating oil. And if you remember what heating oil was, it was 2.481. So times 2.481, right? We get 74.43, right? But then we also had the late fee, so plus 10, the late fee. So that gives us 84.43. So far we're correct. Then we had to times that by the Ohio tax rate, which is 5.75, so times 1.0575. Isn't that what Ohio is? Yep. So far we get to 89. Remember, it's 95, right? So we got to do the county tax, and in our case it was Columbiana. So we got to times that by Columbiana, which is 1, and it's 0.0725, 0.0725. Everybody loves math. And as you can see, oh, it doesn't check out. Maybe I typed something in wrong. 5.09. Oh, I'm sorry. I picked Stark. That's right. I picked Stark. So let me go ahead and divide that by. I'm sorry. 1.07. Alright, now we'll times that by Stark times Stark, which is 1.065, right? And it's 95.08, is that correct? I think it is. Get that out of there. And indeed it is. In fact, it rounded it up for us like it should have. Okay, so everything checks out, so our math is correct. Okay, so now we have a problem though, right? Because, you know, if the user doesn't select anything, we don't want that, right? Because it's going to give a value. It's going to probably mess everything up. It's not going to calculate taxes. It's going to give a false value. And of course we don't want that. So we want to force the user to at least enter something in there. And there's two ways to do that. You could put the required tag or HTML. But since this is a JavaScript tutorial, I might as well show you a JavaScript solution to it. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to have an if statement here, and we're going to make sure that there's something in there. All right, so let's go to. Let me go to where I get the that county. Yeah, right. So the value. So I'm going to do it right after this. Hit space a couple times. I'm going to say if county, right? Does not equal empty strings. Okay. Now, if it doesn't equal empty strings, we're good to go. If it does, we're going to be doing something. This is where I'm going to incorporate that function I was talking to you about earlier. My set info bar styles. But before I do, I want to be able to create a variable real quick. Bar. And if you see info bar, this is what I'm talking about. Info. We'll just do it like this. Var info bar equals document.get elements by class name info bar, right? Alright, now since this is a class, as you can tell, this is going to be an array. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say info bar dot inner HTML. Well, so I'm going to do the first one, right? Dot inner HTML equals, please select a state, or I'm sorry, a county. Please select a county, right? It's going to show up there, and then I'm going to pass in my set info bar styles. I'm going to show you how this works. So I'm going to say set info bar styles, because what I want to do is I want to set the font and color and all kinds of stuff, right? Now the way I set this up is it's 0 because that's the first one I'm picking, just like I picked here, 0, right? And I want to be able to do, I think it's style. Like that. I think I already incorporated that, but it's probably what it was. There we go. Now it should work. Alright, so let's go back to our console. Alright, now we go to... I'm going to test this out, so I'm going to leave this blank, right? I'm going to say, whatever, yeah, propane, doesn't matter. Blah, 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 30, bam. Okay, so now if I estimate, oh, it says please select a county. So it's not letting me go. It's not letting me go. Okay, so let's change this, see if it works. Now, please select a county, right? And so now I select a county, right? And now it should give me a value. It does indeed. However, I want this to disappear. So I need to do else, right? Else statement. So if that's not true, if there actually is something in there, right, I want to do set info bars. And again, 0. And I want to be able to pass in let's see, display. Display. And we're going to pass in none. Right? Now if I hit save, this will work. Now, let's go ahead and do the same thing we did before. We're going to leave it blank. We're going to go with emergency, propane, doesn't matter. Put our gallons in there. Estimate total, it says please select county. Okay, we're going to mess around with a little bit more. Is that still on there? It is. Okay, so now we're going to select county now, right? We're going to hit Mayhew, or whatever, however you pronounce that. I'm not from Ohio. Okay, so bam, it shows up, right?